Good day, Class 9. We are back with the last video in history. Chapter 2. Turn to the Revolution of October 1917. Before I proceed, if you like the video, please press like, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. This will inspire me to make better and more interesting videos. Again, the topic, the Revolution of October 1917. Conflicts between the government and the Bolsheviks grew. Lenin feared that the government would set up a dictatorship. So he began discussions for an uprising against the government. Bolsheviks, supporters in the army, Soviets and factory workers were united. On 16th October 1917, Lenin managed to convince the Petrograd Soviet and the Bolshevik Party to agree to a socialist seizure of power. The uprising began on 24th October. The Prime Minister left the city and called in the troops. The military, who was loyal to the government, seized the buildings of the Bolshevik newspaper. Troops were sent to take over telephone and telegraph offices and protect the Winter Palace. Immediately, the Military Revolutionary Committee ordered a seizure of government offices and to arrest ministers. The battleship Aurora shelled the Winter Palace, means fired a number of bullets at the Winter Palace. Military points were taken over. By nightfall, the city was under the control of the committee. The ministers surrendered. Uprisings took place in other cities too. In Moscow, there was heavy fighting. By December, the Bolsheviks controlled Moscow and Petrograd. What changed after October? The Bolsheviks were totally against private property. Most industries and banks were nationalized in November 1917. This meant that the government took over ownership and management. Land was declared social property. Peasants were allowed to seize land owned by the nobility. Large houses were partitioned according to family requirements. They banned the use of old titles of aristocracy. New uniforms were designed for the army and officials. In 1918, the Soviet hat was chosen. The Bolshevik Party was renamed the Russian Communist Party. In November 1917, elections were conducted to the Constituent Assembly. The Bolsheviks failed to gain majority support. In March 1918, Though there was opposition, the Bolsheviks made peace with Germany. In the later years, the Bolsheviks became the only party to participate in the elections to the All-Russian Congress of Soviets, which became the Parliament of Russia. Russia became a one-party state. Trade unions were kept under party control. The secret police punished those who criticized the Bolsheviks. The party stood for socialism and change. However, the party encouraged censorship of the press. The Civil War. The Bolsheviks ordered land redistribution. As the Russian army was made up mostly of peasants, they wished to go home for the redistribution. The Russian army began to break up. Non-Bolshevik socialists, liberals, and supporters of autocracy condemned the Bolshevik uprising. Some of the leaders moved to South Russia and organized an army to fight the Bolsheviks. During 1918 and 1919, the Greens and the Whites controlled most of the Russian Empire. They were backed by France, America, Britain, and Japan. These nations were worried at the growth of socialism in Russia. A civil war was fought between the troops and the Bolsheviks, where looting, dacoity, and famine became common. Those who supported private property took harsh steps against peasants who had seized land. By such actions, the non-Bolsheviks began to lose support. By Jan 1920, the Bolsheviks controlled most of the Russian Empire. They succeeded due to the cooperation of non-Russian nationalities and jihadists. Bolshevik colonists brutally massacred local nationalists in the name of defending socialism. To rectify this, many non-Russian nationalities were given political autonomy in the Soviet Union. This was the state the Bolsheviks created from the Russian Empire in December 1922. The Bolsheviks followed unpopular policies like harsh discouragement of nomadism. Their attempts to win over different nationalities was only partly successful. Making a socialist society, the Bolsheviks kept industries and banks nationalized. Peasants were permitted to cultivate land that had been socialized. A process of centralized planning was introduced. Officials assessed how the economy could work through a 5-year period. On this basis, they made 5-year plans. Prices were fixed to promote growth during the first 2 5-year plans. Centralized planning led to economic growth. Industrial production increased and new factory cities came into being. However, rapid construction had an adverse effect. It led to poor working conditions. Workers lived hard lives, which resulted in 550 stoppages of work. In winter, people had to dash across the street to go to the washroom. This was an example given of the poor working conditions. People that lived on fourth and fifth floors, they had to rush down, run across the road, and go to these public washrooms. Those were the conditions. It's just an example that was given, one of the examples. Universities were set up so that factory workers and peasants could be educated. Creches were established in factories for children of women workers. Creches are actually places where small children are kept, especially for working families, and they are cared for. So they are called creches. Cheap public health care was provided. Living quarters were set up for workers. The effects were uneven as government resources were limited. Now we go on to Stalinism and collectivization. After Lenin's death, Stalin took over. The early planned economy was linked to the disasters of the collectivization of agriculture. In 1927-28, Soviet Russia was facing an acute shortage of grain supplies. The government had fixed prices at which grain was to be sold, but peasants refused to sell their grain to government buyers at these prices. Stalin introduced firm emergency measures. It was believed that rich peasants and traders hoarded grain hoping for higher prices. That is, stocking up huge amounts of grain so that that grain would be less in the market, which would result in higher prices. In 1928, party members toured the grain-producing areas, supervising enforced grain collection and raiding kulaks. Kulaks was the name given to well-to-do peasants. As shortages continued, a decision was taken to collectivize farms. Earlier, land was given to peasants. These small-sized holdings did not produce enough grain and could not be modernized. In order to develop modern farms with machinery, these small holdings were to be taken away and state-controlled farms were to be established. That means now these farms would be bigger so that modern techniques, machines could be used. This would eliminate the kulaks. This was Stalin's collectivization program. From 1929, the party forced all peasants to cultivate in collective farms called kolkhoz. Peasants worked on the land and the profit was shared. The peasants were enraged and resisted the authorities and destroyed their livestock. Within 2 years, the number of cattle fell by 1/3. Those who resisted were severely punished. Many were deported, sent back, or sent away from the mainland, and exiled, sent away altogether forever. Peasants argued that they were not rich, but yet they supported socialism and did not want to work in collective farms for a number of reasons. Stalin's government did allow some independent cultivation, but they were treated harshly. In spite of collectivization, production did not increase. In 1930-33, the bad harvest led to one of the most devastating famines in Soviet history, where over 4 million people perished, that is, died. Many within the party criticized the confusion in industrial production and the effects of collectivization. They were charged with conspiracy against socialism. As accusations were made, over 2 million were in prisons or labor camps. Many were innocent, while a large number were forced to make false confessions under torture and were executed. Some who were executed were talented professionals. We move on to the last topic, the global influence of the Russian Revolution and the USSR. Many socialist parties in Europe were against the ways the Bolsheviks took power. The possibility of a workers' state inspired people across the world. Communist parties were formed in many countries. Colonial people were encouraged to follow the Bolshevik experiment. Many non-Russian countries, in fact, participated in the Conference of the Peoples of the East, and the Bolshevik founded Comintern, which was an international union of pro-Bolshevik socialist parties. By the outbreak of World War II, the USSR had given socialism a global face. In the 1950s, it was accepted within the country that the style of government in the USSR was not in keeping with the ideals of the Russian Revolution. Now, a backward country had become a great power. Its industries and agriculture had developed, and the poor were being fed. But it denied the essential freedom of its citizens. Developmental projects were carried out through repressive policies. The USSR was losing its international reputation as each country rethought the ideas of socialism in a variety of different ways. Students, please subscribe and press the bell icon. As I told you earlier, this will encourage me to make better videos, more interesting videos, so that you can understand the lesson properly. Stay safe, stay at home.